I met him, let's call him Jack, shortly after moving to the city where my father grew up. Our moms parked in the same place, and we started talking little by little. We were both shy, and we studied in different grades. Over time, I got to know him better. We became friends, waiting for our younger siblings after school, playing basketball, his favorite sport. We grew closer, and our friendship became the best one in the world. But I began to fall in love with him, without even realizing it. On my 18th birthday, when we were saying goodbye, Jack unexpectedly kissed me on the cheek. I froze in surprise, my cheeks flushed, but I didn't say anything. We continued seeing each other almost every day until he transferred to high school. That's when the first drama began. A guy named Dylan, who was Jack's friend and hated me, appeared. He made up a huge lie to separate us, and Jack believed him. I saw them hanging out together constantly, and I was torn with jealousy. But the truth was soon revealed. Dylan turned out to be a traitor who hated me simply for who I was. After that, we started spending time together again, and my feelings for him grew stronger. But soon, Jack confessed to me that he was in love with my twin sister. It felt like a blow to the chest, but I tried not to show my emotions. I even lied, saying that I liked my friend Clara, just to hide the truth. Time passed, and we gradually drifted apart. I was being bullied at school, and he was busy with his own life. Soon, he got a girlfriend, and I had a boyfriend. It was as if we were living in parallel worlds, meeting only occasionally when fate brought us together. Years went by. We grew up, changed, but when I saw him again, my heart beat as it did in my youth. We met at the wedding of mutual friends, and he looked at me as if no time had passed. We spent the whole evening talking, reminiscing, laughing. It turned out that his relationship didn't work out, just like mine. After that meeting, we started texting, then meeting in person. Old feelings that I had tried to forget flared up again. Now, older and wiser, I wasn't afraid of my emotions anymore. Every day, my connection with Jack grew stronger, but as adults, we both understood that memories alone weren't enough for the future. We had both changed. Our personalities had formed through life's experiences, but something still pulled us toward each other. However, the past had left its mark. The fear of losing him again made me hold back. We began to spend more time together, long walks through familiar streets, talking about what we had been through, sharing our dreams. One day, sitting in a cafe, he said, "We've always been more than just friends, haven't we?" I nodded, lowering my eyes, not knowing how to answer. At that moment, a woman entered the cafe, and Jack raised his hand in greeting. She was his colleague Lauren. Tall, confident, with a dazzling smile, she walked up to our table, and I felt something sharp stir inside me. They started talking, and I realized they had some special connection. Later, when we were alone, I gathered the courage to ask, "Are you dating her?" Jack paused, as if choosing his words carefully. "Not exactly. We just get along well. But you know, in our lives, there's a lot of not exactly." He smiled, but I felt sadness in his voice. That phrase stuck with me. Maybe we were losing each other again, still not figuring out what we wanted to be for each other. In the meantime, Andrew entered my life. Charming, caring, with an incredible sense of humor. He was my colleague, and despite my confusion about my feelings for Jack, I allowed myself to open my heart. With Andrew, everything was easy and calm. He didn't provoke the intense emotions I had for Jack, but maybe that was exactly what I needed. One day, Jack saw us together. He didn't say anything, but his gaze said a lot. That evening, he texted me, "Are you happy with him?" I didn't know how to respond. Was I happy? Or was I just trying to forget him by replacing him with someone else? After that conversation with Jack, When his question about my happiness haunted me, I increasingly felt like I couldn't hide anything from myself. From the moment I found myself near him again, I couldn't ignore my feelings anymore. They hadn't disappeared, they had simply been hidden deep inside, waiting for the right time to resurface. I couldn't pretend anymore that everything was fine, that Andrew was what I needed. I still longed for Jack. As soon as I decided I needed to talk to him, I felt my heart start pounding in my chest. I dialed his number, not knowing what to expect. When he picked up, the silence felt almost tangible, and in those few seconds, I could feel that he was also contemplating what was happening between us. He was so familiar, yet so distant in that moment. He spoke first, and his voice was as warm and calm as it had always been. We agreed to meet, and an hour later, I was sitting in that same cafe where we had once talked about everything in the world. When Jack entered, my heart skipped a beat. He was a little different, more mature, with a more serious expression, but all the same memories, all the same emotions returned instantly. His gaze, his slight smile when he saw me, filled the air with the same warmth it once had, and I realized that nothing had changed in how I felt about him. We were silent. The whole moment was filled with the quiet realization that we both understood that everything that had happened over the years hadn't erased what was between us. Jack seemed to give in and spoke the words that had been lingering between us for so long. He said he couldn't keep living without knowing what was going on between us. He said it as if he wanted to be sure that my feelings had remained, that they hadn't disappeared, just like his. I knew he was right. He was the one who had held a special place in my life, and I couldn't ignore what I felt anymore. We both continued to fight with what was between us, with what remained. But now there was no point in hiding our emotions. I admitted that I thought about him constantly, that I felt the same storm inside me as I had before. He took my hand, and in that gesture was so much familiar care that all the doubts I had been hiding disappeared. We sat in silence, but now this silence was filled with understanding. We didn't know what lay ahead, but we weren't afraid of it anymore. We were together again, and that was the most important thing. I couldn't answer him with words, but everything inside me screamed. Yes. I was ready to try again. Ready to be with him, despite everything that had happened. We had both changed, but something important and unchanging remained within us. This moment became the beginning of a new chapter, and I knew that now, having found each other again, we wouldn't let go.